My name is Michael Hayes. 37 years old. Software architect. Single for the last, God, I don't even know. Maybe 5 years? Maybe longer. At some point, I stopped counting because it didn't matter anymore. I think some people drift through life without ever realizing they're drifting. I wasn't one of them. I felt it every day. I lived in a small apartment on the west side of the city, the kind of place built for someone who planned to stay only a year but accidentally remained for 10. Gray walls, quiet neighbors, a balcony too small for a chair but big enough to remind me I didn't have anyone to share the view with. My life wasn't bad, it just wasn't mine. Wake up, coffee, work, gym when I felt guilty. Sleep, repeat. People called me calm, stable, reliable. Truth is, I wasn't calm. I was silent, and there's a difference. I didn't expect anything to change. Real love felt like something that had a deadline, and I missed mine years ago. At least, that's what I thought. It happened on a Saturday, the kind of day you don't usually remember. Early October. Golden leaves everywhere. A soft chill in the air that made everyone walk a little faster. I went to the local autumn market near the river, not because I needed anything, but because walking among people felt less lonely than walking alone. And that's when I saw her. Not in a dramatic way. No slow motion. No soundtrack. Just a woman standing by a booth of handmade candles, smiling at the vendor while tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. A gentle smile. A warm one. A real one. The kind people don't fake. She wore an oversized cream-colored sweater, jeans, and a scarf that looked a little too big for her. But she pulled it off, effortlessly. I don't know why I stopped walking. Maybe it was something in her posture, relaxed but attentive. Maybe it was the way she held a candle to her face and inhaled, eyes closing as if she were smelling a memory instead of wax. Or maybe it was because she looked like someone who would never make you feel like you were too much, or not enough. Just enough. I didn't approach her. I didn't even think about it. But fate, or whatever force laughs at human plans, had other ideas. Because 5 minutes later, she walked directly into me. Literally. She had turned around quickly with a paper bag in her hands, and before either of us could react, thump. Candles rattled, her scarf slipped, and she gasped, "Oh my God. I am so sorry." Her voice, it was warm, soft, a little rushed, but in a sweet, genuine way. I steadied her bag before it fell, and she laughed nervously. I swear I'm not dangerous. I just wasn't looking where I was going. I smiled. An actual smile, not one of the automatic ones I practiced at work. "No, it's okay. I wasn't looking either." She exhaled with relief. "Good. At least neither of us gets to feel like the idiot today." Her humor, it was immediate, natural, unforced. Then she offered her hand. Emily. Her touch was warm despite the cold day. "Michael," I said. For a moment, we just stood there in the middle of the autumn crowd, two strangers who collided with just enough force to shake something awake inside me. "What brings you to the market?" she asked. I hesitated. The real answer, loneliness, wasn't exactly an opener. So I said, "I needed fresh air." She laughed softly. "Same. Work has been crushing me lately. I'm finally taking a day for myself." We walked together for a bit without planning to. She told me she worked at a community art center, helping coordinate programs for kids and adults. I told her I worked with software, and she said, "So you're one of those people who makes the world run but rarely gets credit for it." No one had ever phrased it like that. She spoke like she was painting a picture, choosing her words carefully but playfully. At one booth, she picked up a tiny caramel apple. "Try this," she said, handing it to me without asking. I didn't even protest. It was good, surprisingly good. She smiled like she'd just won a small victory. "I knew you'd like it." It felt like she'd known me longer than 10 minutes. We eventually reached the riverbank. Leaves floated along the water. A cold breeze brushed past us. "This is my favorite place in the city," she said. "It feels honest here." I turned toward her. "Honest?" She nodded. "You can't hide by the river. It knows when you're sad. It knows when you're lying to yourself." I didn't know what to say, because it sounded exactly like something I'd always felt but never put into words. She looked at me, really looked, and her expression softened. "You're carrying something heavy, Michael." My heart paused. Most people never noticed anything about me. She noticed in minutes. "I'm okay," I said quietly. She smiled, not convinced. "You don't need to be okay with me. We just met, and maybe that's why you can be honest." For the first time in years, I felt something open inside me. Something I'd buried so deep I almost forgot it existed. She wasn't flirting. She wasn't trying to pry. She was just present. And no one had been present for me in a very, very long time. After another half hour of walking, she checked the time and sighed. "I have to go. I promised my sister I'd help her move some furniture." She rolled her eyes at herself. That sounded a lot less dramatic in my head. I laughed, and she smiled like the sound genuinely made her happy. "It was nice meeting you, Michael." "Really?" Then she paused, hesitating just a little, like she wasn't sure if she should take the next step. "But she did. Would you, maybe want to meet again? I mean, if you want. No pressure." And for once in my life, the answer was easy. "I'd like that." Her smile widened, bright, warm, real. She handed me a small piece of paper with her number written on it. "Text me, or call, or send smoke signals. I'm flexible." I folded it carefully. "I'll call," I said. "I hope you do," she replied. Then she walked away, scarf swaying, candle bag in one hand, hair dancing in the wind. I stood there long after she disappeared into the crowd. For the first time in years, something in my life felt like it had just begun. Something I didn't want to lose. Something I didn't know I was missing. Something like hope. I didn't call Emily that evening. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't trust myself not to sound like an idiot. I rehearsed it in my head too many times. "Hey, it's Michael. Hi, it's me again. So, do you like rivers?" Everything sounded stupid. I held her number between my fingers like it was glass. Fragile, precious, unexpected. People like me don't meet people like her by accident. At least, that's what I believed. It wasn't until Sunday morning, when sunlight forced its way into my curtains, that I finally gathered the courage. My heart hammered louder than the ringtone. She picked up on the third ring. "Michael?" She said my name with a softness that warmed something in my chest. "Yeah, hi." Her voice lit up instantly. "I hoped you'd call." I exhaled, quietly, but she still heard the shift. We talked for almost an hour. Mostly about nothing. Coffee brands. Books she pretended to read. My terrible cooking skills. Her sister's dramatic cat. The weather. The safest topic in human history. But beneath the casual talk, there was a quiet electricity. Something growing in the spaces between words. Eventually, she said, "Would you like to grab dinner tomorrow?" I blinked. She asked me. Most people wait. She didn't. "Yeah," I said, "I'd like that." When the call ended, I stared at my wall for a long time, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Anticipation. I spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing a shirt. She texted me the restaurant address, a small place she said had the best soup in the entire city, no debate. When I arrived, she was already there. And God, she looked beautiful. Not in a polished, glamorous way. In a warm, human way. Her hair was tied loosely. Her sweater was casual. But her smile. That smile could have lit the whole room. You came, she said with a playful tone. You didn't think I would? Oh no, I knew you would. I just wanted to say it. We talked, and talked, and talked. At some point, the waiter had to return twice because neither of us had opened the menu. She asked me about my life, but not in the usual checklist way. No. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? No. Why are you single? After dinner, she suggested we walk. The night was cool. The air smelled like rain waiting to happen. City lights reflected in puddles like tiny galaxies. She walked close to me, not touching, but close enough that I felt her warmth. At one point, she stopped suddenly and looked up. Look, she said. Between the clouds, a few stars peeked through. Nothing spectacular, just small glimmers. She whispered, "Do you ever feel like the universe nudges you sometimes? Like it pushes certain people into your life at exactly the right moment?" I looked at her. I do now. She smiled softly. The kind of smile someone gives when they're trying not to fall too fast. When we reached her street, she turned to me. I had a great time tonight. So did I. She hesitated, brushing her hair back with that familiar gentle gesture. Can I see you again? There was no question in my mind anymore. Yeah, I said, definitely. She stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell the faint scent of vanilla on her scarf. But instead of kissing me, she rested her forehead against my chest for a moment. Just one moment. Warm, quiet, honest. Then she pulled back and whispered, "Good night, Michael." As she walked away, I felt it, the subtle, undeniable shift in the air. Something was changing in my life. Slowly, beautifully, and I wasn't afraid of it for once. Over the next week, we slipped into a rhythm. Morning texts, short calls during lunch breaks, late-night conversations about dreams and fears and random thoughts she'd never told anyone. She told me she loved listening to the rain. She told me she hated crowded places but loved old bookstores. She told me she didn't trust elevators. I still don't know why. And I told her things I didn't expect to tell anyone again. About my failed relationship. About the loneliness I never admitted. About how silence feels like home, but also like a cage. She never judged, never rushed me, never looked for flaws. She just listened. One night, she said, "You feel safe." And for the first time in my life, I realized that being safe for someone is a form of love too. A form I had never known. The next time we met, she suggested the art center where she worked. She wanted to show me something. We walked into a room filled with paintings from local artists. Some were messy, some were beautiful, some were strange enough to make you question the artist's mental health. But she moved through the place like it was her second skin. "This," she said softly, "is where people come to feel again." She stopped in front of a canvas painted entirely in shades of blue, deep, cold, heavy blue. "This one reminds me of you." I raised an eyebrow. "In a good way," she added quickly. "It's quiet, but full. You just need to look a little deeper." Then she turned to me. "Most people never look deeper." Something in the air changed. Not dramatic, not loud, just intimate. Her hand brushed mine, not on purpose, but also not by accident. My pulse quickened. I wondered if she felt it too. She whispered, "I'm glad you came into my life, Michael." And I knew then, truly knew, that whatever this was becoming, it was real. The first snow of December fell softly against the window as Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. We'd spent the evening decorating her tiny apartment, laughing about how every string of lights somehow tied itself in knots the moment she opened the box. There was a warmth between us now, gentle, unhurried, real. But there was also something unspoken, something she carried quietly, like a weight behind her eyes. When I finally asked what was wrong, she sighed, small, tired. "Daniel, I don't want to lose what we have, but I'm scared of wanting more." I took her hand. "Then let's be scared together." She looked at me like that might be the safest promise anyone had ever made to her. A week later, I came home to find an envelope taped to my door. Her handwriting, soft, familiar. Inside was a letter she had written weeks before, back when things between us were still new and fragile. She wrote about her fears, about the man who had hurt her before, about how loving again felt like stepping barefoot into snow, cold, terrifying, but strangely beautiful. And at the bottom, "If I ever run, it's not from you. It's from the ghosts I haven't faced yet." I folded the letter carefully, pressed it to my chest, and whispered into the empty room, "I'm not going anywhere." It happened on a night when the wind hit the windows so hard it sounded almost angry. Emily showed up at my door with tears on her cheeks. "I just had a horrible day," she said. "I don't want to think, I don't want to be strong. I just need you." I wrapped my arms around her. We sat like that for a long time. Just breathing, just existing. She trembled, but slowly, she settled. When she finally looked up, her voice broke. "Why do you care so much?" I didn't even think before answering. "Because loving you doesn't feel like a choice. It just is." That's when she kissed me. Soft, slow, careful, as if she were afraid the moment might shatter. It didn't. It deepened. It became the turning point. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, hitting her hair like gold. She lay beside me, peaceful in a way I had never seen. For the first time since I met her, Emily wasn't running from anything. She was staying. She opened her eyes and whispered, "I think I love you." I smiled. "Good, because I definitely love you." She laughed into my chest, quiet, relieved, unbelievably soft. Winter turned into early spring. We fell into a rhythm. Late-night conversations, long walks through the city, cooking meals we both burned but ate anyway, and the kind of kisses that feel like home. Emily started painting again. I started sleeping better, breathing easier, feeling lighter. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes like sunrise, slow, steady, unstoppable. Her parents lived in a quiet town 2 hours away. She was nervous. The way people are when they're bringing home someone who matters. But her mom hugged me like she'd known me for years. Her father shook my hand with a smile that said, "Thank you for being good to her." That night, Emily squeezed my hand under the table. "They like you," she whispered. "I like them," I answered. She leaned closer. "Good, because I want you in my life for a long time." On a warm June evening, we went to the lake. The same one where she first told me about her fears, her past, her hopes. The sky was purple and gold. The water rippled with soft light. And she looked at me like a person finally unafraid. "Daniel, I used to think love wasn't for me." I took her face gently in my hands. "Love found you anyway." She smiled, eyes full of tears she wasn't ashamed of anymore. No, you found me. I kissed her forehead. And I'm staying. She nodded, then whispered. Then so am I. People think love is loud, big gestures, grand moments. But I learned something different. Love is quiet mornings, shared coffee, soft laughter, a hand reaching for yours without thinking, a heart healing beside another. Love is choosing someone every day, especially on the days when choosing feels hard. It's been 2 years now. Emily still paints late into the night. I still sit beside her, pretending to read while secretly watching her work. We're building a life that isn't perfect, but it is ours. And if you asked me what happiness looks like, I'd tell you, it looks like her, walking toward me with that soft smile, eyes full of trust, heart open, whispering, "I'm home." Because she is. Because we both are. Together.